you know, so I think kind of just on top of all of the injury report stuff, the messaging on if Caitlin Clark is injured, what the injury is, if it's ongoing, is just unclear as well, especially with the fact, Steph said it was not ongoing, but then earlier in the season, a week or two ago, she said, Caitlin, along with a lot of other players, they're going to be going back to the tunnel to be getting adjustments during the game. And for
the situation surrounding Caitlin Clark's absence from the Indiana Fever's recent game has raised serious concerns among reporters and analysts about how the organization handles injury communication. The core issue stems from what many are calling a gap between what was said before the game and what became apparent after it. Before tip-off, head coach Stephanie White told the media that Clark was healthy and that the team was not managing any kind of physical concern with her. The statement was delivered with confidence and left little room for interpretation. Yet Clark never stepped on the floor, which immediately raised questions from everyone covering the team.
During the game. And for Caitlin, that's getting her back adjusted because Caitlin said her back gets out of line pretty quickly. And I guess my question about that would be, is this all the same thing where then it is an ongoing thing, or is the back issue that kept her out of yesterday's game a separate thing that is not ongoing?
Now, I'm going to find more of this clip for us to listen to because Chloe Peterson is there. Shout out to you for the super chat.
When reporters tried to get a straight answer after the game, White said Clark's back was sore and directed any further detail to the training staff. That response, however, was not treated as a denial of injury. It was seen as an acknowledgement that something was going on. One reporter noted that saying her back is sore, paired with pointing to the training staff, is not the same as saying there is nothing wrong. The confusion deepened because earlier in the season, White had mentioned that in several Clark players would be heading to the tunnel during games for physical adjustments. Clark herself had said that her back tends to go out of alignment frequently.
Because Chloe Peterson is there. Shout out to you for the super chat. Super chat stated, seats empty, they was crashing in for oil change. Now, that's crazy because Stephanie White said this at the conclusion of the game.
Steph, just following up on Caitlin from earlier, she didn't practice yesterday. Why was she not listed on the injury report, or why wasn't the injury report updated like earlier today if she woke up with soreness in her back?
Well, not everybody that doesn't practice or gets a pro day is on the injury report, so that happens all the time. And she wasn't.
So the question reporters were pressing on was whether this newest back issue was part of that same ongoing problem or something completely separate. White was also asked directly whether the Fever could face a fine for not updating the injury report. She said no. That answer drew further skepticism, given that the team knew by mid-afternoon that Clark was not going to play, but did not inform the public until just before the game started. A podcast run by the Indianapolis Star picked up on this and ran a segment where local reporters discussed how walk-up ticket sales may have been a factor in withholding the announcement. The idea being that fans who already had seats would show up regardless, but those considering buying tickets at the door might not bother if they knew Clark was out.
Report, so that happens all the time. And she wasn't listed on the injury report earlier because we expected her to play.
And is she injured? I guess is a fair question. Is she injured, or is it something other than an injury?
Her back is sore. So if there's anything more detailed than that, that's the training staff.
Do you think the Fever could get fined for not listing her as on the injury report?
No.
Thank you.
So Stephanie White
Steph, just
said
following up on Caitlin from earlier.
that she don't believe they could be
One reporter drew a comparison to a past situation involving Indianapolis Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson, where the team similarly said the player had a sore back, only for it to come out later that he had severe spasms and was unable to walk. The point being made was that vague language around back injuries has been used before to downplay the actual severity of what a player is dealing with. Multiple voices in Indiana sports media have now begun questioning whether White is being straightforward with the press. The criticism is not just that the information was incomplete, it is that the way questions had to be asked made reporters feel like they were pulling teeth to get basic facts. Reporters noted that questions like, "Is she injured? Is it ongoing?" should not need to be asked at all if a team is being open from the start.
White
Steph, just
said
following up on Caitlin from earlier.
that she don't believe they could be fined for not reporting the injury. When we all know, Steph, we all know that there was some type of injury. Now, just like I stated, the Indy Star got their little podcast called Indy Star Fever TV.
There is also commentary about the relationship between Clark and the coaching staff. Some observers pointing to sideline footage have noted that while Clark's connection with her teammates appears strong, the dynamic between her and the head coach does not carry the same visible warmth. Some analysts have gone so far as to say the organization does not appear to fully appreciate what it has in Clark, referencing a post-game win over an expansion team that some use to argue the Fever can succeed without her. The broader conversation that has emerged is whether Stephanie White's position with the team is becoming increasingly difficult to hold between the injury report handling, the lack of clear communication, and growing friction with local media, the pressure on the Fever's front office, including general manager Scott Skiles, is mounting.
The Indy Star got their little podcast called Indy Star Fever TV. Now, this is more of what news is saying coming out of Indiana, right? This is some more of what is coming out of Indiana. Let's listen.
Out. So I think, but especially with, what you said, Tony, on, players do get rest days, practice rest days. But I think there is an important designation between, are they just resting because, they have a schedule?
They are beginning to question the reliability of the people making them. The Indiana Fever are drawing uncomfortable comparisons to last season, and this time the parallels are difficult to dismiss. For a second consecutive year, the organization appears to have held player availability information until the last possible moment, and the fan base is responding with open fury. Caitlin Clark was ruled out for the game against the Portland Fire due to a back injury, with the announcement arriving roughly 1 hour and 20 minutes before tip-off.
It's an important designation between, are they just resting because, they have a scheduled off day, or do they have a concern that they are that they are working with? And I think that was the difference between having, what Steph called a pro day, a rest day, and having something that would actually be of concern for not practicing.
So I'm glad you brought that up. This is where I think it gets weird. So if you have a rest day,
What made the timing particularly damaging was the sequence leading up to it. The Fever had issued a status report the previous day listing no injuries. Nothing in that communication indicated Clark might miss the contest. Fans made plans, purchased tickets, arranged travel, and in some cases took time off work, all under the assumption that Clark would be playing. The late scratch left those supporters with no practical way to reverse those decisions.
You're resting. Stephanie White told us that she got treatment on her back. Are you getting treatment on your back because you're resting your back or because your back is injured?
So now, I'm going to pause it right here and we go listen to some more. So what it's looking like to me, what is happening in Indiana is they're divided. The media now is questioning Stephanie White. Based off what I'm hearing.
One reporter indicated the absence was part of a strategic management plan for the season, noting the game represented the fourth appearance in 8 days. That framing did little to soften the reaction. Critics were quick to draw a distinction between load management, as practiced by established NBA franchises, organizations with multi-decade fan loyalty and deep merchandise revenue, and the WNBA, which is still in the process of building the kind of durable fan base that can absorb that sort of decision without serious consequences. Resale ticket prices told the immediate financial story. Point 33.
One of them. Are we seriously doing load management in the WNBA? Is that what we're doing? I cannot even imagine. This is the tickets that are still available for this game. I mean, seriously? Isn't that rather interesting that
reports suggested that even at those prices, movement was minimal. Fans who were already at or near Gainbridge Fieldhouse when the announcement came through described the atmosphere as one of disbelief and anger. Social media posts from supporters at the venue showed stretches of empty seating visible throughout the arena. The comments flooding the Fever's social media channels were nearly as voluminous as the number of reactions, with a consistent thread running through them. This is exactly what happened last season. Last year, Clark's availability was described as day-to-day for what stretched into weeks and eventually months, with fans repeatedly restructuring plans around the possibility she would return to the lineup.
that this didn't drop till 4:20 p.m.? Late scratch after you've sold tickets? If I'm those fans, I get up and walk out of this arena. Indiana Fever status update. Caitlin Clark's back is out today. Wow. Status report.
One supporter recounted rescheduling travel 3 separate times over the course of last season before eventually losing confidence in anything the organization communicated. That person stated clearly they would not be putting themselves in that position again. The pattern being described is not subtle. The Fever issued a clean injury report with no listed concerns, allowed ticket sales to continue on that basis, and then announced the scratch of their most prominent player with barely enough time for fans to react, let alone seek refunds or cancel arrangements. Whether this represents deliberate manipulation of the reporting process or simply poor internal communication, the outcome for supporters is identical.
For tomorrow's game versus Portland, no injuries. Status update. Caitlin Clark back out. So let me get this straight. You put out the status report just to try to sell tickets like you did last year. That's exactly what you guys did. And now you late scratched Caitlin Clark. Wow.
Money was spent, plans were made, and the primary reason for those plans did not take the court. Questions about who within the organization authorized the decision and why the disclosure was delayed as long as it was have gone unanswered. The Fever's coaching staff, front office, and training personnel are all facing scrutiny from different segments of the fan base, with disagreement only over which party bears the most responsibility.
The Indiana Fever, unbelievable. Scott Agnes, Caitlin Clark will not play tonight versus the Portland Fire. I'm told it's part of a strategic management plan for the season. Tonight is the 4th game in 8 days. Is there any way that you're going to try to let people know about that? Or are you going to do like the NBA where fans feel like they're getting screwed all the time?
What there is no disagreement about is the outcome. The trust between the organization and its supporters has taken another significant hit, and some fans are stating plainly that it may be beyond repair. Speculation about Clark's long-term commitment to Indiana has also resurfaced, with some observers suggesting the accumulation of these situations makes a future trade demand more plausible than it might otherwise seem. For families and individuals who built travel plans and vacations around attending Fever games last season and absorbed repeated disappointments, the events of this week carry a particular weight. The franchise had an opportunity coming into this year to demonstrate that the handling of last season was an anomaly. Instead, within the opening weeks of the new season, the same sequence has played out again, and the patience of the people who invested most heavily in showing up appears to be running out.
Overload management. Is that what we're doing? Scott Agnes, I mean, I know you're carrying water for the franchise, but is anybody going to actually press on this issue? Or are you just going to sit back and watch the franchise fumble the bag at an epic level? I mean, unbelievable. Caitlin Clark's been ruled out for a back injury, with a back injury for tonight's game. She was not on the injury report yesterday. Venom. Go subscribe to Venom Reacts. Fever fans wake up yesterday. No injuries reported. Last second scratch. The main attraction, Caitlin Clark. They want your money. They know you're at the arena waiting for Caitlin. And wouldn't show up if they pulled this yesterday. They've lost fans' trust for the 3rd year in a row. I cannot believe the unadmitted. Look, the comments are almost as high as the likes. So it begins. Do you guys have the worst training staff in the history of the sport? Tell me again that it's normal adjustments. Oh, yeah. All those people, back brace, nothing to see here, please move along. Nah, shut up. Shut up. You just took an L, a big one. Big old fat juicy L. What a disgusting organization. Can't wait for Slurp FC to get out here and defend these idiots. Yeah, join the dark side. I mean, seriously. Any of y'all wonder why you're not selling out Gamebridge anymore? By the way, when I checked this morning, remember I did the video, $10 tickets, $10 and some